You weren't invited. Mom's words hung in the empty banquet hall as my $5,000 cake sat melting in my car. I stared at her and my stepfather Greg, both dressed in casual clothes despite my arrival at the official time of her 60th birthday celebration. Behind them, the pristine venue showed no signs of the elaborate party I'd spent months planning. No decorations, no guests, no music, just three of us standing in uncomfortable silence. What do you mean I wasn't invited? I organized this entire thing. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, hollow and distant. Mom examined her manicured nails, the ones I'd paid for last week as part of her birthday package. We moved it to yesterday. Family decision. Family decision, I repeated slowly. I am family. Greg smirked, his arm sliding around Mom's waist. Real family doesn't disappear for months on end, only showing up to play hero with some fancy party. My head spun as I tried to make sense of their words. I'd spent every free moment for the past 3 months coordinating this celebration, pouring my IT salary into a party worthy of the milestone. Weekly calls with Mom discussing details. Daily texts with my sister Chloe about surprises. Where's Chloe? I asked, my chest tightening. Home, recovering. Mom's tone was casual. The real party went pretty late. The pieces weren't fitting together. Something was deeply wrong. I pulled out my phone and opened Instagram, scrolling rapidly. There they were, dozens of photos posted just 14 hours ago. My mother beaming in an expensive dress I didn't recognize, surrounded by relatives and friends. Chloe's arm around her, both of them laughing. Hashtag Patricia60th. Not a single mention of me. Not one person wondering where I was. My finger froze over a photo of a lavish cake, different from the custom one melting in my car, the one Mom had specifically requested. There was another cake, I said softly, more to myself than them. Greg's impatience was palpable. Look, we've got lunch plans. If you want to talk about your feelings, maybe call first next time instead of just showing up. Just showing up. To the event I'd created, funded, and confirmed multiple times. I didn't argue. Instead, I opened my banking app and canceled the pending payment to the venue. $3,800 I'd nearly forgotten in my shock. The transaction reversed instantly. What are you doing? Mom asked sharply, glancing at my phone. I met her eyes. Family decision. Then I walked to the trash can near the entrance, something catching my eye among the discarded coffee cups. I pulled out a crumpled envelope, my name clearly visible on the front. An invitation, torn in half. The date marked was indeed yesterday. They'd mailed me an invitation to my own event, with the wrong date. I tucked it into my pocket as evidence, a strange calm settling over me. I need to make a call, I said, walking toward the exit. Enjoy your lunch. My hands didn't shake until I reached my car. Then, gripping the steering wheel, I allowed myself 10 seconds of pure, white-hot rage before starting the engine. The cake would make excellent evidence, and I was suddenly very curious about what else my family had been hiding. I didn't go home immediately. Instead, I drove to the office, grateful for the weekend emptiness. My desk was a familiar refuge as I began my investigation. The invitation in my pocket was the first clue. Postmarked 3 days ago, long after we'd confirmed plans by text. I placed it carefully on my desk and opened my laptop. My sister and I shared a phone plan, my first avenue of investigation. Chloe's text messages revealed conversations with our mother spanning weeks. Jason's paying for everything. We just need to give him the wrong date. Asterisk, I feel bad about this, Mom. Asterisk, don't. He owes us after abandoning us for that stupid job. Besides, he can afford it. Asterisk, I scrolled further back, finding more messages about me that turned my stomach. My IT job that took me away for frequent business trips wasn't abandonment. It was how I paid for Mom's medical bills last year when Greg's insurance wouldn't cover her treatments. The depth of their coordination was impressive. They'd created a separate event planning thread without me, carefully keeping me in a parallel conversation where I believed I was the organizer. In reality, they'd been making all the decisions, using my credit card information while feeding me fake details. I had authorized Mom to use my card for party expenses without demanding receipts. Family trust. What a concept. Next, I checked my bank statements. The damage was worse than I'd imagined. Beyond the venue deposit I'd just recovered, there were dozens of charges over the past month. $2,400 at a high-end dress shop, $1,800 at a jewelry store, $3,200 at a luxury hotel where apparently a block of rooms had been booked, $4,500 at a high-end restaurant. None of these had been in our original budget discussions. Nearly $15,000 in unauthorized charges, all carefully timed and deliberately kept under the credit limit increase I'd requested for party expenses. I leaned back in my chair, a chill running through me. This wasn't just moving a party date. This was calculated financial exploitation. My phone buzzed with a text from Chloe. Asterisk, where are you? Mom said you freaked out at the venue. Asterisk, I didn't answer. Instead, I printed the text conversations and bank statements, slipping them into a folder. Then I called my bank to report fraudulent charges and request a card replacement. Mr. Morgan, just to confirm, are you saying all charges from Patricia Morgan and Chloe Morgan should be flagged as unauthorized? The bank representative asked. Yes, I said, my voice steady. And I need to remove them as authorized users from all my accounts. The representative paused. They're currently listed as your financial proxies and emergency contacts. Should I remove those designations as well? This was news to me. When were they added as financial proxies? 2 weeks ago, sir. We have the signed authorization forms on file. My blood ran cold. I'd signed no such forms. I need copies of those documents immediately. As the representative promised to email them right away, a memory surfaced. Mom asking me to sign some venue paperwork in a rush as I headed out for a business trip. I'd trusted her without reading the fine print. My phone buzzed again. Mom, this time. Asterisk, you're being childish. Call me. Asterisk, I slipped the phone into my desk drawer and opened the email that had just arrived from the bank. The forgery wasn't even particularly good. My signature clearly traced and then embellished. The form gave them complete access to my accounts in case of incapacitation or inability to manage finances. For the first time, I felt something beyond shock and anger. I felt fear. This wasn't a spontaneous act of selfishness. This was calculated, patient, and potentially just the beginning. I needed to secure more than just my bank accounts. I needed to protect everything. By evening, I had changed the locks on my condo, revoked all financial authorizations, frozen my credit reports, and set up fraud alerts. I'd also backed up and secured all my personal data and documents. I sat in my living room surrounded by printouts of evidence when my doorbell rang. Through the security camera I'd installed just hours earlier, I saw Chloe standing there, looking tearful. Jason, please, she called through the door. Mom's worried sick. We need to talk. I pressed the intercom button. I'm not interested in talking right now, Chloe. It was just a stupid party. Why are you making such a big deal? I didn't respond. Fine, she snapped, her concerned expression instantly transforming. Be that way. But you should know Mom's really upset about her credit cards not working. She's at the mall right now and can't buy anything. That's unfortunate, I replied, watching her face flush with anger. She'll be calling you about it. She can call my lawyer instead, I said, surprising even myself with the decision. Unauthorized charges and identity fraud are serious matters. Chloe's expression changed again, concern flooding back. Identity fraud? What are you talking about? Don't be ridiculous. The fraudulent proxy forms with my forged signature. The unauthorized charges. The coordinated deception. Would you like me to continue? Her silence told me everything. Mom said, she began weakly. I know exactly what Mom said. I've read all your texts, Chloe. The color drained from her face. You can't do that. That's private. Shared phone plan, I reminded her. My name on the account. And as of today, you're no longer on it. Jason, please. She was crying now, real tears. Mom needs that card for her medications. You know Greg's insurance is terrible. The manipulation was so transparent it almost made me laugh. Mom's medications are fully covered by the supplemental insurance I pay for. The same insurance that covered her elective cosmetic procedure last month. I checked. She tried a new approach. We're family. You can't just cut us off. Family doesn't steal from family, Chloe. Family doesn't deliberately exclude and humiliate family for fun. It wasn't like that, she insisted. I have the evidence that says otherwise. She kicked my door hard enough to rattle the frame. You're going to regret this. Mom was right about you, always thinking you're better than us just because you have some fancy job. I said nothing. Greg knows people, Jason. Important people. You think you can mess with us without consequences? The threat hung in the air. I checked that my security camera was recording. Is that a threat, Chloe? It's a reality check, she hissed before storming off. I locked the door and sat back down with my evidence, adding the video of Chloe's visit to the collection. The knot in my stomach tightened. What had started as hurt over a birthday party had revealed something much uglier, a family that saw me as nothing more than a resource to exploit. My phone rang again. Mom, then Greg, then unknown numbers. I let them all go to voicemail, listening to the increasingly frantic and angry messages. You ungrateful little. If you don't call back immediately, your mother is in tears. Is this what you want? You've always been selfish. The final voicemail was from Greg, his voice low and menacing. You have no idea who you're messing with, boy. I've been tolerating you for years. Fix this, or there will be consequences. I saved each message, then blocked all their numbers. Tomorrow I would consult with a lawyer, but tonight I needed to understand how deep this betrayal went. I opened my laptop again and began searching my email history, looking for patterns I might have missed. What I found shocked me even more. Email notifications for credit card applications I'd never submitted. Password reset attempts for my investment accounts. 3 different address change confirmations for accounts I rarely checked. They'd been attempting to access everything, not just my primary accounts. And they'd been doing it for months, long before Mom's birthday planning began. As midnight approached, I found something that made my blood run cold. An email thread between Mom and Greg that had been accidentally sent to my work email, which I'd shared with Mom for emergency contacts. Once we get access to his main accounts, we can transfer enough to cover the house down payment. He'll never even notice with how little attention he pays to his statements. Asterisk, what if he does notice? Asterisk, that's what the medical power of attorney is for. One call about his concerning behavior and mental health episodes, and we'll have temporary control. By the time he sorts it out, it'll be too late. Asterisk, they were planning to claim I was mentally unstable if I caught them stealing from me. A chill ran down my spine as I realized how vulnerable I'd been, and still could be, to their schemes. I printed the email thread and added it to my growing file. Then I composed my own email to my company's HR department, explaining that due to a family emergency, I needed to ensure no one had access to my work accounts or information without my explicit consent. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Every noise made me jump, imagining Greg's important people or perhaps a wellness check called in by my concerned family. By morning, I felt both exhausted and more resolute than ever. It was time to take control of this situation once and for all. 3 days passed in relative quiet. I consulted with a lawyer who advised me to file a police report about the identity theft and fraudulent documents. I changed my emergency contacts at work, ensured my medical directives were updated to remove my family, and installed additional security measures at home. On the 4th day, Aunt Jennifer, Mom's sister, called from a number I didn't recognize. Jason, what's going on? Your mother is telling everyone you've had some kind of breakdown. I wasn't surprised. Let me guess. She's saying I'm paranoid, delusional, maybe talking about identity theft when there isn't any? Jennifer's pause was telling. Something like that. She's really concerned, says you haven't been the same since your father died. My father had been dead for 10 years. I'd processed that grief long ago. I'm perfectly fine, Jennifer. What I'm not is willing to be financially exploited anymore. Financial exploitation? Jason, that's a serious accusation. I have the evidence. Would you like me to send it to you? Another pause. Maybe that would be best. I compiled a simplified version of my findings and emailed them to her. Check your inbox in 5 minutes. And Jennifer, don't share this with Mom yet. I want your honest reaction first. 20 minutes later, she called back, her voice completely different. My God, Jason, I had no idea it was this bad. These text messages, they're planning to take your condo. Apparently, I said. The birthday party was just a convenience. I was at that party, she admitted, sounding ashamed. Patricia told everyone you were on a business trip and couldn't make it, but that you'd paid for everything as a gift. People were toasting you for your generosity. The irony was almost laughable. And no one thought it was odd that I'd plan a party I couldn't attend? We just thought. I don't know what we thought. She sighed heavily. What are you going to do? I've already secured my accounts and filed reports for the identity fraud. Now I'm considering a restraining order. A restraining order against your own mother? Jason, despite everything, she and Greg were planning to have me declared mentally incompetent if necessary. I'm not being paranoid, Jennifer. I'm being prudent. The silence stretched between us. There's something else you should know, she finally said. Greg's been telling people he's concerned about your mental health, that you might be a danger to yourself or others. He mentioned something about a wellness check or involuntary evaluation. My lawyer had warned me this might happen. Thanks for the heads up. I've already spoken to my doctor and therapist. They're aware of the situation. I'm so sorry, Jason. I should have seen this coming. Patricia's always been difficult, but this is beyond anything I imagined. After we hung up, I forwarded Jennifer's contact information to my lawyer. Another witness, another layer of protection. That evening, the first direct confrontation arrived. Mom, Greg, and Chloe showed up at my door, demanding to be let in. Through the intercom, I informed them that any communication should go through my lawyer. This is ridiculous. Mom shouted at the camera. We're worried about you. You're clearly not well. I'm perfectly well, I replied calmly. Which is why I recognize attempted financial fraud when I see it. Greg stepped forward, his face a mask of concern that didn't reach his eyes. Son, we understand you're upset about the party mix-up, but this paranoia about fraud is exactly why we're concerned. Let us in so we can talk about getting you some help. The only help I need is making sure my identity and assets are protected from people trying to steal them. Chloe's face appeared in the camera. Jason, please. You know how Mom feels about family disputes becoming public. Let's handle this privately. Like you handled my birthday planning privately? I countered. No thanks. Their tactics shifted rapidly between concern, anger, and manipulation. When none worked, Greg's true colors emerged. Listen here, you ungrateful piece of shit, he snarled, no longer bothering with the concerned stepfather act. Your mother and I have put up with your superior attitude for years. You think you're so much better than us with your fancy job and condo. You owe us. I remained silent, recording everything. We know things about you, he continued, his voice dropping. Things that could make your life very difficult at that precious job of yours. So unless you want everyone to know about that incident in college, you'll open this door right now. The incident he referred to was completely fabricated, but his willingness to blackmail me was another piece of evidence for my growing file. Threats and blackmail attempts are being recorded, I informed them. Please leave the premises immediately or I'll contact the police. They left, but not before Greg kicked my door hard enough to dent it. I downloaded the security footage and sent it to my lawyer with a simple message. Escalating. Proceeding with restraining order as discussed. 2 weeks later, I sat in a conference room across from my family and their hastily acquired lawyer. My own attorney, Eliza Winters, was a composed presence beside me, her meticulous organization evident in the neatly tabbed binders before us. Greg looked confident, Mom tearful, and Chloe uncomfortable as the meeting began. We're here to discuss resolution options before Mr. Morgan proceeds with legal action, Eliza stated calmly. My client has documentation of identity theft, fraudulent financial proxy forms, unauthorized credit card charges, and threatening behavior. Their lawyer, a friend of Greg's judging by their familiar manner, waved dismissively. This is a family misunderstanding blown out of proportion. Mrs. Morgan had verbal authorization to use her son's credit cards for a birthday celebration he himself was planning. The celebration my client was deliberately excluded from, with a forged invitation showing the wrong date. Eliza countered, sliding the torn invitation across the table. Or perhaps you're referring to the jewelry store charges that were never discussed. The hotel rooms? The financial proxy documents with a clearly forged signature. She methodically laid out document after document, including the damning email thread discussing plans to take control of my accounts. Mom began to cry. Jason, how could you do this to your own mother? After everything I've done for you. I remained silent, letting Eliza speak. Mr. Morgan is willing to resolve this matter without criminal charges under the following conditions, she continued, ignoring Mom's performance. Full repayment of all unauthorized charges. Signed agreements never to attempt to access his accounts again. And a no-contact order for a minimum of 1 year. Greg slammed his fist on the table. This is absurd. We're his family. Family doesn't typically plan to have someone declared mentally incompetent to steal their property, Eliza noted dryly, pointing to the printed email. Their lawyer leaned forward, suddenly less confident. Where did you get this email? If it was obtained illegally, it was sent to my client's work email accidentally by Mrs. Morgan. Completely legal. Eliza smiled thinly. There's more evidence we haven't shown yet, but I think the picture is clear. The meeting deteriorated from there. Mom wept dramatically. Greg alternated between rage and forced contrition. Chloe stared at the table, avoiding my eyes. Their lawyer requested multiple breaks to consult with them privately, his expression growing increasingly grim. By the end of the 3-hour meeting, they had agreed to my terms, though not without attempting to negotiate the no-contact period down to 3 months. We held firm at 1 year. As we prepared to leave, Mom made one last emotional appeal. "Jason, honey, can we speak alone? Just for a minute?" Mother to son. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the manipulation behind the tears for what it truly was. "No, Mom. I've heard enough. Sign the papers." Greg's mask slipped one final time as I reached the door. "You'll regret this, Jason. Family is everything." I turned back to him. "You're right. Family is everything. That's why its betrayal cuts so deep. And why I'll never let it happen again." 1 year has passed since that meeting. The restraining order has been extended twice due to violations, accidental encounters that were clearly orchestrated, messages sent through mutual acquaintances, one particularly disturbing incident involving Greg showing up at my workplace. I'm thriving despite their efforts. My condo is sold, and I've moved to a secure building across town. My career has advanced with a promotion that allows me to work remotely most of the time. The financial hit from their fraud was significant but not devastating, and I've rebuilt my savings. Most importantly, I've built a life without the constant drain of their exploitation and manipulation. Therapy has helped me recognize the patterns I was blind to before, how they'd been using me for years, taking advantage of my desire to be a good son and brother. The final communication I received was a letter from Chloe on my birthday, 6 months ago. Unlike Mom and Greg's attempts at contact, hers seemed genuinely remorseful. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want you to know I'm sorry. Really sorry. I got caught up in their games for so long I couldn't see how wrong it was. I'm getting help now, trying to understand why I went along with it all. I hope someday we might talk again, but I understand if that day never comes. You deserved better from all of us, especially me. Asterisk, I haven't responded yet. Perhaps someday I will, when the wound isn't so fresh. But for now, I'm focused on building a life defined by honest relationships and real connections, something I never had with the people who were supposed to love me most." The birthday cake I'd ordered that day, the one that melted in my car while I discovered their betrayal, was a custom design featuring photographs from our family history. Mom had specifically requested it, claiming it would mean the world to her. In retrospect, it was the perfect symbol of our relationship, something I poured my heart and resources into, that they never intended to appreciate, designed to melt away while they celebrated without me. Some family ties are worth preserving at all costs. Others, I've learned, are simply elegant traps designed to bind you to people who see you as nothing more than a resource to exploit. I chose freedom. Was shutting out my family the right thing to do? Or should I have tried harder to repair what was broken?